Hello, my friend, David here. So I just got this shirt yesterday in the mail, and if you would like one as well, there is a link down below in the description. Peace, much love, and take care. Hello and welcome. Got Dale Holmes today. Dale's been on a bit of an adventure. You're always traveling, aren't you, Dale? You've been doing a lot of traveling lately.
Yeah, well, I haven't been working too much, so I get a bit itchy feet sitting around in Bendigo because most people I'd hang out with are all working, so I'd sort of just up and go sometimes.
There was just a big orb just that flew through behind your
Was that?
head. Yeah,
What colour?
white. It was big though. It looked like a spotlight.
All right, I'll have to watch it back in the recording.
Yeah, not the ones
Yeah,
I get.
I've been getting a lot of
ones,
I've been getting a lot of weird shit like that too, man. I've been having some premonition dreams too that have
yeah,
just crazy stuff like that at the moment.
I had a dream about the Queen a few nights ago.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at. I think I was talking to you, and I was sending you a lot. We were talking about reptiles and stuff, and I was looking at a lot of different things. And I think it was a combination of looking at those videos, and then obviously things are going on with the Queen. I've never dreamt about the Queen before, but in this dream, I can't remember exactly where I was, but I could tell there was something wrong with her. It was just me and her, and her eyes were green, and she was normal, like what she normally looks like. And then she tried to attack me, and then I woke up. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like, we probably didn't intend to start on this, but
No.
dreams are very significant. If you dream something, these are messages from the higher self too, and particularly if you watch a lot of David Wilcock's stuff, like he did a dream diary for years.
Yeah, and he still does it, I think.
Yeah, and then a lot of the stuff it didn't make sense at the time, but it's for now.
Right.
It's all correlating to now, and there's like a lot. I mean, not just premonition dreams, but lots of like. Have you had the dream you're being chased? You would have had that one.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, that's
a real common one.
Yeah, that's usually when you've got something that you don't want to address, and you need to.
Yes.
You need to kind of face it head on.
So if you can lucid dream, which I haven't been able to do for quite a long time, but I used to all the time as a kid, where you're in the dream and you can control a dream. So if something's happening, you just reverse it and you play it out to. So in that one, they say that if you stop running, you're aware you're in the dream.
Yeah.
You turn around and then you face your fear.
Yeah.
And then that can actually give you the confidence and the energy to do it in your real life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I've been having this recurring one my whole life, and I just had it again this week. And it's that I've murdered someone. I've buried the body in the bush, and people are like looking for this body, and I know I'm going to get caught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like I'm hiding aspects of myself or things. I don't know what it really means, but
yeah, there are so many
this one
things.
ended a bit different.
I had this really funny one. This is way off topic, but I had this really funny one once where I was on the moon, and I walked into all these fast food joints on the moon, like Burger King and Macca's and stuff. And I walked into, basically it was just one building, but were all lined up there. And dreams are sometimes it's almost like what you're experiencing is sometimes the opposite of what it is. Sometimes it is exactly what it is. Like when you're being chased, it makes sense that you should face that thing. But this one, it was like, my friend looked it up and she goes, it means that you're going to come into some money soon. And like you're on the moon or whatever, eating crappy food. But it means that you're abundant. Like it's really odd. It's like the opposite of what you'd expect.
So did that happen?
Yeah. It's like, I started earning more money around that time. So it was really interesting. Yeah.
I remember David Icke reading his book, and he dreamt of his teeth falling out. And
I've had that before too. Yeah. Or shattering.
That usually represents, it represents some form of death, but it can be a death within the family. And particularly a father figure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that many times back in the day. And what I thought it was when you're worried about what people think of you, which made a lot of sense. I mean, dreams have multiple meanings. You always look it up and it's like, you could mean this, all these different things. And I guess you just pick the one that best suits you at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get into it. You went to Melbourne yesterday to do a talk on S and RNA.
Yeah, no, I was just catching up with certain people. I've been just talking to certain people behind the scenes, getting information and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you didn't do a presentation or anything?
No. Well, we're hoping like we can get people together because I know that they're doing something around the Epstein Maxwell case now in New York. I think they're doing a rally, and particularly to
Okay.
do with child abuse and stuff like that. Because they
Yeah.
were talking about how when the Weinstein stuff came out, there was there was big rallies and stuff all led by like Rose McGowan, but it was all particularly to do with Me Too, as in like
Right.
women being abused by powerful men. And
Yeah.
they're trying to steer that in the direction that it's a patriarchy and men are the problem, where it's not men are the problem. And I remember at the time, who was it? Fiona Barnett said, "Oh, we need to do kids too, not Me Too. What about the kids?"
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we can get something like that up and running.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, you just touched on the Maxwell case. Obviously, that's a big thing that's been going on now, and there's so many distractions that are being thrown at us in the media. Probably, in many ways, good distractions, but also at the same time, they are kind of distractions. Like we've had a bunch of resignations that all around the world, and they're just the ones that we know about. I'm sure there are others in other countries too.
There's so many in other countries. Like I still follow Prague Morning News just because I used to go over there, right?
Yeah.
So like sometimes I just sort of keep up with some of the shit that's happening in Czech Republic. But they've got a guy over there, Andrej Babiš, and he's the richest man in the country. He's the prime minister.
Right.
I actually used to tutor a kid in his house, his former house. He lives just around the corner. And like actually his son used to go to my school, the school I used to teach at. But anyway, they call him, he's like a massive billionaire in the Czech Republic. They call him the Czech Trump too because of some of his policies.
Okay.
And he's standing down. And
wow.
he's basically, yeah. So it's happening. I'm hearing this all over Europe, even in America, in like some of the states. But particularly like in Victoria. So we've got 6 MPs now standing down or not running for re-election. But the interesting one I saw, because we had Jill Hennessy, because this is what's happening everywhere. The attorney generals are standing down. So she was former attorney general and former health minister under the Andrews government up until so yeah. And then if you look on the federal level, we got Porter, who was on these allegations of sexual abuse. He's the attorney general again. And then you've got
how many attorney generals are
who's
there?
the health minister. We have an attorney general for each state.
Every state, right?
Yeah, but so like attorney generals, they're the ones that work directly with the law in each government. So it's almost like the head of to oversee the legal fraternity. So it's pretty interesting that all the attorney generals are standing down, and then obviously the health ministers as well, because we had Mikakos last year resign,
right?
And then we had Hennessy, now the former health minister, resign, and Daniel Andrews himself was health minister.
Was he? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Hunt.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there was a guy, and this made the front page of the paper today. You might have seen it in the back channels yesterday because it came out yesterday, but I can't remember his name. Some WA.
Oh, is this the WA? The WA.
Yeah, and that made the front page.
I just got this up here. Yeah, I got it up here. I didn't even know the guy. It's James Hayward.
That's right.
WA Parliament is in shock. Nationals MP faces charges of abusing an 8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And then there's so many of these little drips in it. Do you know this MP?
Nah, never heard of it. I don't know many MPs, to be honest.
It's your state, man. No, I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't even know who McGowan was, like, until all this stuff kicked off, really. You know, I just never followed politics. There's a good reason as well. You know, you kind of, it's like probably the same reason that I didn't watch the media the entire time, even though I wasn't kind of aware of what was going on with the media. You know, it's like maybe my higher self was just stopping me from getting involved in politics and the media for those kinds of reasons. But at the same time, I think we always need to be involved in politics, because I was more involved in politics, or at least knew what was going on, maybe I would have seen the stuff earlier, wouldn't I? You know, would have known what was going on earlier.
You know what they say? They say if you might not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you.
Yeah.
So like and if you actually look what's happened now, everything that's come into play is all the infrastructure through legislation that they've done for decades that no one's cared about or even known about.
Right.
They'll just push in legislation.
Yeah, they put through so many crazy things that we don't even know about behind the scenes. And I think a good example of that, which wasn't so much behind the scenes, is the bill that just passed yesterday.
Yeah.
Like ordinarily, they may pass that kind of thing without letting us know, right? They would just do it, and then people would have to find out later on. But now it's been front and center. And what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, well, as far as that's what's actually been good the last couple of years too is like everyone knows politics now, don't we? It's like as much as it's a circus and a charade, it's you know, it is good that people have now taken interest in what like you know, like they try and push through legislation. People know about it now,
right?
It's in the public eye. But like for me, you know, like again, it's probably shown who's against us and who's not. To a certain degree, maybe not, but like as far as the legislation goes, it doesn't matter. The previous what was it, biosecurity bill or whatever that they're running the state of emergency under, that was illegal anyway, and so is this one. So
yeah, and
you know, they're probably going to implement another lockdown, I would say, with this new strain or whatever. You know, it's like I was just talking to a friend in the Czech Republic this morning, and so they're going into lockdown now again.
Okay.
So this is happening
because of the new one.
Yeah, and this is happening all over Europe again. But obviously they're going into their winter. But
right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull it off here. But I don't know. I feel like it's a tougher task trying to pull it off in summer and pulling it off in the holidays too. But at the end of the day, you know, it's the whole point of this awakening is people need to realize their power. And like the thing is, like if you're running a small business, they want to destroy you regardless anyway. If they're not going to destroy you now, they're going to destroy you. So you best just forget whatever laws they put in. Like I had a friend the other day, these COVID marshals have got to be.
I saw your post, yeah.
Yeah, what sort of human beings are they? Like, how do you go to bed at night if you're on coke? You're worse than like anyone at the moment. You're probably the biggest. Like, imagine working as a coach, and I hear they're getting paid quite well.
Of course they do. Yeah, of course.
So, like, I had a friend yesterday. They went to enroll their kids in a school, in a new school, and the school won't let them in to enroll because they haven't been double jabbed, so they can't enter the building to enroll the kids.
Oh, right.
And then I've had other parents who haven't been double jabbed. They can't even go with their children. They can't go with their children to get the school uniforms because they're not allowed on site because you can't. And like I'm talking like 6-year-old kids. You can't just let a 6-year-old kid into the building and without their parents, and they're not allowing. Like it's just insane. But yeah, what did you ask? The bill. I don't know how far they didn't put it in place not to use it.
Right.
And it's not like the Biosecurity Act where they plan to use it a decade ahead. They plan to use it now.
Yeah, well, because the SOE finishes in what 12 days or something. So
yeah,
that's when it kicks in, right? So I would imagine that I don't know. It's basically just an extended version of the SOE, but worse, isn't it?
It's basically it's worse.
Yeah.
And it's more about like how they like these broad terms that they've gotten there, how they can define certain group, like label certain groups and stuff that they could, which you know we know they're talking about anti-vaxxers and
Yeah.
and eventually
The
the rise of
right wing
yeah,
extremists. And,
right wing. Which anyone that's opposing the government's a right. How do they call you a right wing extremist when you're opposing the federal government when they're on the right wing though as well? You know?
right. Yeah. I don't know. But isn't it a case of really, there's no, it doesn't matter, like you said, as long as you're opposing the government, then that's what they label you. It doesn't matter who's in power, right? Because they're all they're all doing the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
They're all running the
But
same show, aren't they?
yeah. Yeah, that's it. But they did choose to push this through the left wing more than the right, didn't they? They
Yeah.
to then label it like for me to be considered a right wing extremist. I've got the haircut for it now though.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah.
saying.
You just got to get a tattoo on your
Yeah,
forehead
I mean,
now.
yeah, but I mean, like, there's a lot of good stuff happening too. Like, I mean, like the numbers we saw in Melbourne and not just Melbourne, all around the country on the weekend is getting international attention. But it's like
Yeah,
I was saying, all those people that are there, you can't just go back home and then continue
put
to
the thing on or whatever.
Yeah, or like put the mask on, or even if you run a small business, like, like how much everyone's still complying to a certain extent, right? With little things just to get along.
Well, what are the rules over there at the moment?
Well, I don't know. Well, if you're not, I'm not jabbed, so I can't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. I don't know what the. But yeah, like they are. The COVID marshals are going around checking passports and stuff for businesses.
So they actually have digital passports now. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're employed by the council. I think they're contractors, but they're employed by the council, and they're really just targeting pubs, hospitality, small business hospitality, not so much other sort of professions. But it's quite obvious that the reason they want to target these hospitality is because it's such a big industry for small business, and they want to kill them.
Right.
They want them completely destroyed. So like those people need to fucking realize that.
Yeah.
But this is what you and me keep saying, that there has to be this big breaking moment.
Right. Yeah.
What's it going to be?
I don't know if they put everybody into lockdown again. Yeah. I kind of like you. I kind of hope that they do, because what's gonna be. I really think with this new variant, whatever you want to call it, I think that a lot of people are still seeing through it now. Because especially with the fact that only people that have had the thing can come into the country, and now it's here, supposedly. So what they say, now it's here. But at the same time, not only does it highlight the ineffectiveness of the thing, but at the same time, that's what they want anyway, because they want to keep giving you them every 6 months. So yeah. So they can't really. On one hand, it's great that it's highlighting the fact that it doesn't work. Like it was meant to work. It wasn't meant to work anyway. But on the other hand, that's exactly what they want. Like they wouldn't have it any other way, because if it did work, then they wouldn't need to keep giving it to you every 6 months.
It's like I know a couple of people that have had the third now already.
Oh well, yeah, okay.
And it's but like I told you, like I was having a conversation with a friend, and like I could even.
Did they happily get the third? Did they just go, yeah, now it's time to this is what I have to do now for the rest of my life, or
yeah, but I'm seeing some of the programming breaking down in people. I'm seeing it, like you're seeing physically the programming breaking down. It's all happening on a subconscious level. Like I had a friend, and you could see the cognitive dissonance playing out in his mind.
Yeah.
Just when I said, I go, mate, you're going to have to get the third and the fourth, and he knew I was right, and he just it was mind-boggling to him. It was just his brain was rattling. He's like, oh,
like when
shit.
Neo finds out that time, and he's like, nah, I don't believe it, and he's just like,
I don't believe it.
Like,
yeah. So I mean, the big question for me is, how much is there going to be a mass death? That's what I want to. That's what I want to know. And obviously we've seen the players in Europe, the footballers, dropping down on that too. Are we going to see this in the AFL?
Possibly.
Because And we just had
They did
there's
mandate it after all, so
yeah, and
yeah.
from what I'm hearing, that they've pretty much all had it, except for this one guy that's walked away. But there was a Nine news sports presenter, Warren Treadray. He was a big time footballer in the early 2000s for Port Adelaide, and
Okay.
he's it's just reported today in the Daily Mail that um, he was a noticeable figure that wasn't there the other day, because I know that Channel 9's mandate came in on December 1st. So I don't know if
Right.
I've seen any other media people. So anyone you're seeing in the media now is double
Has
jab.
had it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some of them very, very vocal about it. Like the people, I don't know, is it the morning show? You know, Koshi
Yeah.
and Nat Bar and those people. Like I think they even got theirs on TV. So, you know, but
And old mate Carl
huh?
and Carl
Who's that?
Stefanovic.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh man, where have you been? Where have you been for 15 years?
Well,
he's the Today Show. He's a Today Show guy. He's a real scumbag.
admittedly, he's the only reason why I know the names of those people is because they're on TV in in the gym in the morning. And you know, if it was a Western Australian media personality, yeah, I'd probably know him. But if it's Eastern States, I had no clue. You know.
Yeah, they're based out of Sydney, but I thought it was Australia wide. There you go.
Maybe. I mean, you can only watch so much. You know, you can only watch so much. It really fucking pisses
I
me
didn't
off.
know Carl when I used to live with my parents, because mum and dad had him on every morning. I don't know why they watched him, because dad would just scream at the TV all morning, going, "Hey, you're a fucking idiot, he's a dickhead." I'm like, why are you watching this shit?
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really pisses me off. Like whenever I go to the gym and the media is playing, like if I ever get the chance, I'd turn it off. But because it's like you're just watching it and you're just watching what I said in our last video, how they're kind of toning down the propaganda. Now they just amped it up again. It's like it's gone worse than it was before, I think, even because of this new variant. But yeah, they haven't let up, and it's crazy. It's crazy when you know what's going on.
I do feel like the COVID thing is I do think it's going to unravel, and this is why I think it's the next step, and that the whole thing is about the reset of the economy too, isn't this? But the thing is, they've got to get everyone on. They've got to get everyone onto the passport system. But you can't bring in the new economy unless you've got the passport. Or maybe they just crash it and they go, well, you can't buy or anything now unless you get one of these.
Which is that video. There was a video about this dude in America. They hadn't actually activated these things yet, but basically it's like when you go to the shop and a deli or something. You saw that, and it's like a fridge door, and you need to scan your head or something, or maybe you would have a chip in your hand or whatever, and you scan that, and then it lets you open the thing. So to open the door to get whatever you want out of it. They hadn't activated yet, so there was you didn't need to do anything, but that was in place, and we haven't. I don't know if we have that here. I don't think we do. But I mean,
yeah. But the interesting, because he was a Christian guy, right? Too, and he was reciting Revelation and the Mark of the Beast.
Right.
And I did a video about this the other day. It's like everything, all these prophecies and documents and stuff they've all been written for now.
Yeah,
there was and like whether you want to call it God or whatever, I do feel like it happens even like we're talking about music, how music's channeled, and it's anyone that's tapping into the creator or whatever or source. And I do feel like the Bible and certain these prophecies, they were this is channeled source information, or it was a warning, or it was the Cabal's playbook and they're just telling you what they were going to do.
Right.
Again, like it can be layering, but that because
they could have just hijacked it. They could have just said we're going to play this out.
Yeah, and who knows when Revelation was really written anyway? Who's got the original document? It could have been written fucking 100 years ago, not 2000.
Yeah.
That book's been altered and twisted. But that's why I was looking at the US the Bill of Rights, and I'm like, that Second Amendment was written for now. And they reckon there's been 1 billion gun purchases in America in the last 10 years. 1 billion.
Shit. So every man, woman, and child has 3 each or something.
3 each, and there was already probably 1 billion guns before that.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why in the US, in the Bill of Rights or Constitution, it's the Second Amendment says it, because everyone knows it says the right to bear arms, but it talks about the militia in there, because we've been trained to think the militia are these crazy gangs in America and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But militia literally just means an armed population. It's decentralized. It's not run by the government. It's the people.
Yeah. Actually, what do you think about? Because I know Bosie's got one of his policies that it's going to allow us to have the right to bear arms again. Like, what do you think about that? Obviously, in America, they've got some big problems, with guns and people getting shot up and all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you see happening here if we were able to have that right?
Well, it's I mean, to me, it's a natural law principle. Is because you're allowed to have equal self-defense as any imposing power, which there be police or government. So if the government has an AK-47, you're allowed to have an AK-47. I particularly have no desire for a gun. I don't want one. But having the right to have one, yes.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the statistics show that, more guns usually can equate to less gun violence. And, particularly in America, a lot of the gun violence you see there, it's, the gun isn't the problem. It's directly related to, poverty within the inner suburbs, drug related, gang banging,
Right.
and then obviously,
video games and things.
Yeah, I don't know how much. Yeah, like social conditioning, all that sort of crap. But the problem is when you fix society, you're gonna have less of those things, and probably less desire to even have or need a gun anyway.
Correct. Yeah, it all starts with the mind. If we're all vibrating at a certain frequency, there'd be no violence anyway. So we wouldn't need to have guns, and we wouldn't, you know what I mean? So there'd be no crime, right?
But we do look at guns very differently in Australia, don't we? Like a lot of people just think it's insane that whole culture they got in America around guns, but because it's such a big thing there. Everyone's got a gun,
right?
Like I have a lot of American mates, and they've all got guns. They grew up with guns, but it does say in the Second Amendment about as well as keeping your gun. So you have the right to have a gun, but you have a responsibility to upkeep that gun, and that means you need to train. You need to know how to use it. You need to know safety. You don't just have the right to. You got the right to self-defense, but if you're dealing with something like that,
sure. Yeah, I think
we know how our guns got taken, don't we? So it was all planned.
And I think that's probably part of the reason why we have that view on guns as well. I mean, yes, it was probably not a good thing that they did that, but at the same time, because it was about 96 or something. So, we've had 15 years or whatever, or a bit longer. Not longer. That's 26 years. I don't know what it was like because I was quite young then. I don't know what it was like before then when we did have guns. I don't remember seeing many things in the news or whatever in the paper about people being murdered by guns, although it probably was a bit more common because we had access to them. But then again, people that really want to get them, they'll get them. People that are organized crime or whatever, they have probably loads of guns.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it just means the criminals get the guns, doesn't it? And it does make you think because they were planning this for a long time. They obviously, this sort of might tell you how bad it's going to get because they took the guns in Australia knowing how bad it was going to get here, knowing that there could be an armed revolution against the government. That's why they were taken. They didn't want any uprising, which makes you think how bad is it going to get still.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting you say that because we have, throughout this whole 2 years and whatever, and knowing what like there've been many times, a handful of times where I just felt like, fuck, I don't know if we're going to make it or whatever. But for some reason, in the last couple of days, I've just felt so positive about things,
Yeah, I ebb and flow, and I have even in the last week. But
but that's natural. We always do that. But But for some reason, I think it's just because you can kind of see what's going on and what the media is telling you and all that stuff, and you see different things that just don't add up and all this stuff. It's like even though they're building these camps, they don't have enough camps for all of us. They just don't, because there are far more people that I think that haven't had the thing than have. We've just gone from 50% in our state uptake rate from just a couple of months ago to about 73 or 76 or something. Like, it's going really fast, and they expect it to hit 80% by this week, and we're going to get there by the end of the year at this rate. But I just don't believe it,
Yeah.
because like I said to you, I went to that hub close to my house, and there were like 200 people a day. But they were getting 9,000 a day at one point. But
yeah, well, they're going to start lining up in my town again when the third one comes out.
yeah, true. That's true. I had something else I wanted to say based off of that. Oh, and I guess what I wanted to add was that with all the stuff that's going on and the government's collapsing and stuff, it's exciting, right? But at the same time, they need them to collapse, to usher in the one world thing. They need them all to collapse and for us to want to accept it. So I think we need to be mindful of that. And obviously I don't think it's going to happen, but we still need to be mindful of the fact that they're probably going to try and do that, right?
Yeah, and look, obviously, and their plan has changed. We knew for decades that because everyone's talking about how China's doing this and China's going to be the new superpower. The goal of the cabal was they wanted a war with China, Russia, and Iran versus America, NATO, and Israel. And the whole point, they wanted to completely destroy both. They wanted to destroy America and they wanted to destroy China because they didn't want any superpower. And wherever they were going to then headquarters the one world government after that. So this obviously isn't
in the Middle
happen.
East. I think they had a few. They had a few different places. I think Australia was even one of them.
Yeah, and
it's a place called Astana or something. Astana or something. Is that
Astana? Yeah, I've heard other people say they were going to have it in bloody Azerbaijan. Even then, even like Jerusalem.
Right.
But then, because there's talk now of these Israeli fighter jets too, and flying over, and that their defense minister says that it's probable that war with Iran is on the cards. And there was this thing called the Samson option in Israel, that if they were ever completely, if they come down to they were going to be destroyed, their option, the Samson option, was to destroy the world before Israel was destroyed. They'll take out the world before they go down. And then we said Israel last, didn't we? That was like one of these Q drops. They kept saying Israel last, which is tying in now with the Maxwell case. And I'm like, it's quite interesting when they brought out the new variant the day the Maxwell case starts, because the Maxwell operation is centered through Israel. That was where it was being centrally controlled from. So it was interesting that that's happened, and then the Israeli defense minister comes out the day of the Maxwell case and says that as well, and then they start beating the war drums. So, but yeah, the point I'm getting to was they didn't get this big global conflict of bombs and war, and how bad was it going to be? So as now we're given the option that we're in a war, but all we have to do is stand up and say no. It's a much easier war than our parents and grandparents and great grandparents that they had to go through. They went through serious suffering in the world wars, and then look at all the other atrocities that have happened all over the world. And all we have to do is like open our business and tell the COVID marshal to piss off. It's not that hard, but that's what it's all about.
But it's all in the mind.
Self-sovereignty. It's a war of the mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the war. Obviously, there's a big war on consciousness, and that's been happening for probably ever since day one, right? But it's interesting how they've been, trying to suppress our consciousness this entire time through all the different methods they've been using. But at this point in time, like, I don't know when it started, but obviously the consciousness has been rising every year, right? And that's why it can't be stopped. and that's why they want you to take this and all the other things. But that's why it can't be stopped, because people are just waking up at an alarming rate. Like we've definitely hit that exponential thing. It's just going crazy now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I know so many people in the last couple of years that the growth I've seen in people is just unbelievable. Just unbelievable in some people.
yeah, it's interesting. I've been talking to a few people. I've been noticing a few people liking certain posts, and I was like, I didn't expect that, but then they've got the other people that are just completely zombified and just have no fucking clue what's going on. But it's interesting, isn't it, when you see, like one of my friends, a friend of a friend actually, he's been liking and commenting on my posts, and I messaged him privately and I said, hey, what are your thoughts about all this stuff? Like, he's like, and he was quite onto it, I wanted to know. I knew that he wasn't buying it, so I wanted to see what his opinion was.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I haven't got it yet. Work hasn't actually asked, but I'm not going to get it. And it's obvious. It's pretty obvious there's something going on there. I don't know if he knows the full story, but he knows enough to know that he doesn't want it. That I asked him about the mutual friend that we have. And I said, what are his thoughts? And he goes, yeah, he was totally against getting the thing. And then one day he just flipped. And I think I told you about this a couple of weeks ago. And one day he just flipped, and he's like, no, it's a good idea. There's enough research to say it's safe, and the chances of dying if you don't get it are far higher. I was like, wow, and I'm just like, what causes somebody to flip? And it could be the mind control thing that we were talking about, that you experienced and I experienced. It could be that. It could just be the fact that it's the media, the propaganda is just so fucking crazy, right? They're just nonstop, and it's all over the TV, and the ads. I don't know how much media this guy watches, or if he watches TV or not, but it's unavoidable. For people that don't watch TV like me, it's still unavoidable. You see it on everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend yesterday. What did he say to me? He goes, "Oh, you're not going to protest again this weekend?" I go, "No, I think I'm going to have a weekend off, and I got some shit to do." And he goes, "You need to stop now."
He's an agent.
It's like, you need to stop. I go, "I need to stop what?" He's like, "You need to stop going to those things. It's ridiculous."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't. What do you say? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much you can say.
I was going to reply back and say, you need to stop taking the jab. You need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to wonder, like, what's going to happen. Well, you probably don't need to wonder. What's going to happen to these people that just keep getting them. Eventually, because David Niggs has been getting some first-hand information from people in Italy. He reckons that the third jab is really doing some damage over there, and it makes sense, doesn't it? Because you lull people into false sense of security with the first two. Maybe something happens, maybe nothing happens, but then they go, oh well, nothing happened the first two times. Why wouldn't I get the third? And if I still want to go traveling and go to the restaurant or whatever, got to do it. And then that's when obviously the more you get, the worse it is. So.
Yeah, that's the point I brought up about like the mass death before, because it is. I've prepared myself that these people that are particularly ones who are going to get the third, that they might not be around much longer after that. I've prepared myself for that, and we're just going to have to see, aren't we?
Right.
But it's beyond the point of us trying to reach those people now. They have to come to that conclusion themselves. We can't help them anymore. It's too late. They've chosen their path, and it's like, it's sad, but like at the end of the day, what do we do? Because like they've chosen that, and a part of that maybe probably has to play out, and that's probably that's part of the whole process. We have to heal, and people have to suffer, and we've got to go through loss and all this stuff. But
it's the soul's journey, It's the soul's journey. You don't know what your soul's decided for you, And do I think that maybe it's so weird, because when you think about your whole life being kind of like pre-planned, and a lot of people who are unconscious think, it's destined. I'm just destined to do this, or I'm destined to meet this person. And then you kind of raise your consciousness a bit and you go, wait a second, I can actually make different decisions. You know, I don't have to be doing this. I could make a different, and my whole life path would change. But then you get to another level and you're like, fuck, what if the entire, like, because I had a soul reading with Tamara and she was like, she was telling me about my life and all these different things. And I said, so it doesn't matter what decision I would have made, that this would have happened anyway. Like I would have experienced this anyway. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, and I kind of, what I kind of envision your whole life like is to be when you incarnate, you have like a big imagine a big flow chart with like a decision here with like maybe
Yeah.
10 or 20 different things that could happen after you make that decision. Then you make another one, and there's another 20 things, and so on and so forth. So it's very, very complicated and very intricate kind of thing, but it's all planned. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's in the quantum field, that everything's potentiality, and that
Every every outcome
every
exists.
decision alters everything. But then, even though you had decisions, they're already made. It's like in the Matrix, you know, when he knocks she goes, "Oh, don't worry about the vase," and he goes, "Oh, what vase?" And he turns around and
Yeah,
knocks it over,
yeah,
and he goes, "Well, the question is, if I didn't say anything, would you have still
yeah,
would you have still broke it?" And it's
yeah,
like those are the things that used to rattle my head as a kid too, because I do think everything's duality in the universe. So you have free will, yes, but no, you don't.
yeah.
Like
That's right.
I can just
Exactly.
I can decide what I decided to do this with you this morning. I could have decided not to, but the
Right.
decision was already made. I was always going to do it. So it's like
Yeah.
that's the duality. It's
Yeah,
crazy
it's
that.
funny, isn't it? It's a real mind fuck, but it's fascinating to think about because it's sometimes it it's just it's too confusing because you kind of think, well, I'm in power, like I have the power to do this and make this decision and go and do that, but who's really driving that force? Like what's to say that your decision wasn't already made for you beforehand? You know?
Yeah.
Uh,
But your decision was made by your soul anyway. So it is
right,
made by you.
right.
But
So when it comes down to
um,
these people getting the thing or the third or the fourth or
yeah,
whatever, like
yeah,
they just made that decision. You know, they can't do anything about it.
yeah. And that's the whole point though too. It's like, because well, why are we doing all this stuff now? Why, a part of it is we want, we do want to help people. We want to, you want to, once you've got information, you have a responsibility to share that or share what you know.
Mm,
But then there's a selfish aspect to it too, because like I don't get freedom unless everyone gets freedom, and I don't evolve unless I can help others evolve. So again,
right.
it's like why do you do anything?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good point because I think initially, for me anyway, when all this stuff started kicking off, I was like, okay, my freedom's in jeopardy, right? I
Yeah,
got to do something about it. But then you look, you think a bit, you think it was very selfish, but at the same time, and that's what the media would say to you. It's like Andrew, it's selfish to care about your freedoms, but you're not caring about your freedoms only. You're caring about everyone else's freedoms too, because in you doing
yeah,
that, they all want the same thing you want. They just maybe don't know that they want it yet. You know, or they do, but they're too scared. So the more people that stand up, the more people that stand up, and so on and so forth.
yeah. That's what I've found. Like, I mean, I've been pretty good over there. A lot of this hasn't impacted me much at all. In fact, I've probably loved the last 2 years more than ever. But
Mm,
the hard bit, the stressful bit, is seeing I've seen a lot of other people collapse around me,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's tough, and that's a burden on you too. And then you become a counselor to all these people, and that's difficult. So it's like in a selfish aspect too. It's like I want fucking freedom for everyone too, so then I can be free and I
yeah,
can relax. But we haven't gone through the process yet. I think that's quite evident, and like I think when the shocking moment happens, when the first big shocking moment happens, we'll know what it is.
yeah.
But I don't
Because you said we spoke about the Maxwell case and Israel being last, and Israel had their thing a few months ago. We all thought that was going to be okay. This is going to be the end now. But it's interesting that you talk about the Maxwell case because I was watching a video. There's a couple of different things, and a couple of videos that I've seen where psychics will say there are a number of markers. Uh, the Queen passing is one. I think the Maxwell case is one, and there might be another one as well that are really like once these things happen, then we're going to start seeing some big action. And and it kind of makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Queen is pretty obvious because, you know, apparently, yeah, the Queen. I mean, with all the stuff that's happening in the NT right now in the Northern Territory that involves the
It's directly
Queen,
related.
yeah, it's all related. And with with the Maxwell case and with the Mossad connection to that and the Israel connection, it really does seem like maybe, okay, Israel is last, but it wasn't what we were thinking it was going to be a few months ago. You know, it's something different now. So now that all these things are happening, and the Queen's probably going to pass in the next, you got to say, probably the end of the month. Like, they can't keep.
You were saying to me this week, weren't you? You're like, I don't think she's going to make the year.
I
So
don't think so. I mean, it's been a bit
it would
quiet.
be a nice it would be a nice Christmas present, wouldn't it?
Well, it's funny you say that because somebody sent me a message today and she was like, I'm predicting it's going to be 21st of December.
Well, I was just thinking that then 21st,
Sorry,
right? Yeah.
25th. She said 25th, actually.
Well, it could be the 21st too, because that's the solstice. And in
Yeah,
the northern hemisphere, that resemble the winter solstice is the death of the sun.
right.
And then you have the 3 days of darkness and then the rebirth on
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah. So it's interesting that all these things are happening now, you know, the Maxwell and the Queen, and I don't know what the third thing is, but let's just hope it's already started because, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, what are you seeing for December? What are your thoughts about?
I've been watching a little bit of the Maxwell case. So they got his pilot on yesterday. It's got
Yeah,
that had the flight logs. There wasn't. I mean, it's only early. Interesting that it's like Comey is the prosecutor interviewing the
yeah,
the pilot, but he did say that he was flying every 3 or 4 days with Epstein and Maxwell, and that he was flying the pilot. He was also an engineer, so he was checking the plane, like maintenancing the plane. But then he said he was also taking photos and filming at locations. They were asking.
right,
So it was just a weird thing. Yeah, it was a weird thing for him to come out and say that. And obviously they got someone that could fly maintenance and do everything right too. So he would say that he was in a circle that he knew what was going on. This pilot, and he flew for like 15 years, for like every three or
okay.
4 days.
With
But
them for Epstein,
with that,
or
yeah. So look, I don't know how like this case is going to drag on for years, man. And like, so he was the first witness called. They've got like Maria Farmer, the stuff that's going to come out too. But I mean, if it doesn't start implicating some of the bigger players, I mean, it has to eventually. But it's
sure.
like the whole thing could be a flop. And I even like don't even know if there is a fucking case anymore. Like, who knows what's going on? There's no audio. There's no,
I was going to ask you that.
but then like, yeah. So what's going to happen for December? I don't know. It's like, yeah, like it does. I mean, we've been listening to what Bosey said, and he's put himself on the line a bit by saying that Christmas, New Year's, because I know a lot of people that are still hanging off that and hanging very slim financially to
Yeah,
make it through to the end of the year without having to get this thing.
sure.
They're holding on that hope that something's going to happen to break this. So if that doesn't happen, you know, I mean, that's going to put people even further against the wall, make people even more insane. So I think other big things are going to come out. I don't know if it's going to be the big thing, but you know, there's obviously the biblical aspect of Christmas.
Right.
And then I had this session a couple of years ago, and I kept asking for when disclosure was, and it was telling me January and April.
For like ETs and stuff.
No, I just said for disclosure. I didn't even know what that meant. So
Yeah.
it could be anything.
You said January
January and then April.
and April.
I said starting in January, then April.
Yeah, man.
What do you reckon? I mean, there is a build-up now too, particularly just the resignations we're seeing in Australia and all over the world. There's obviously they're manoeuvring people in and out of place, or people are leaving because they know something's coming, something big is coming. They're not all standing around now for no reason.
Correct. And yeah, I don't know. I think that I know we say this every month, but I don't think that I don't think that I've ever had a month along this entire time where it's been this exciting. We always say, "Oh, next month should be big. Next month should be big," and if I look at certain periods where I thought, okay, maybe this month will be the month where it all ends, like I would definitely say that this month has been seems to be the most promising at this point. Whether it happens this month, I don't know, but I do
Did you
think
see
something
what?
big will happen in December. Whether
Yeah,
that means, at least the Queen passing away would be pretty big, uh,
yeah.
and then more resignations, I would say, and the thing about
But,
Bosie, like he never talked it up much. He said he
uh,
said certain things. He said watch for resignations. He said, I really do hope he's right. It doesn't seem like he's not a Charlie Ward or anything who says things are going to happen and never happens. Bosie, I think he's well connected. So
yeah. I think Australia is setting the scene too with the legal stuff around sovereignty and fighting the illegal corporation, the Australian government, and particularly with us being a Commonwealth nation, because Barbados has just been removed the crown now last week,
right,
and
yeah,
they had their official ceremony. And now, like we saw, like when Rod Cullerton put out this thing the other day too, it's becoming mainstream information now that Australia is a corporation.
mm,
It's like, this was a crazy thing that I used to tell people about a long time. The Jordan Maxwell's been saying for 50 years about, but particularly around Australia too, because obviously you've got the 300 tribal nations or whatever it is in Australia that have now got that know they got the power and they're serving all these documents. And
right.
that's why I said it does. That's why when the Queen dies, it is go time, because it's almost like, even though it's fake, the head of that fake um,
It's a symbol.
occupier that symbol is removed.
Yeah,
And it'd be interesting that if they would even replace anyone, and that Charles has already come out and said he doesn't want to be king, which means it would go to William. And I told you William he's the Sun King because he's born on the summer solstice.
mm,
Um, so yeah, I think a lot of that sort of stuff's going to play out. And there's this tribal convoy that they have planned to Canberra too, which is apparently some of them are already starting to move. And
okay,
they're going to assemble the tribal nations on Canberra, I believe, in January. So that could very well coincide with if the Queen dies around Christmas, and then you've got the tribal people descending on Canberra. Now that
yeah,
I think of it, that
mm,
that timing does really fit in well, doesn't it?
right. And I guess the interesting thing with timing is like when all these things kind of come together, it's divine, isn't it? Like all these things kind of happen at
Yeah,
the same time. It's not like people go, okay, we're going to do this then, we're going to do this then, and this is all going to happen. Who knows when the thought enters that person's mind to say this is the date or whatever it is.
yeah.
So it's
It's
yeah,
all, yeah. I agree, man. It's been played out by higher power,
mm,
100%.
yeah,
It's actually quite amazing. Like
it is.
some
It
of the
is.
stuff, some of the synchronicities I'm getting, it's just daily, man. It's just daily. And that's what you're on the path now too. And I'm starting to trust that intuition a lot more than I ever have in my life. You pass stuff and you're like, oh yeah, I sort of feel that, but I'm not sure. Like you're probably the same too. And because
Yeah,
you're seeing those instincts manifest a lot quicker than we ever have. So you feel something and then it happens, or you get a confirmation that your feeling was right. But normally it might have took months, whereas now it's like it could be minutes or day. You're getting these confirmations really quickly, and you're like, right, I'm right. I trust my instinct. I trust my knowing.
mm,
That's the fun stuff.
yeah, yeah. I think with the Schumann residence, I was talking to somebody and it's been off the charts recently, and it's I don't know
It looks at in ages, yeah.
how it's measured or anything, but I know that it's going crazy right now. And I think I sent you that video about the ears ringing because when I spoke to you
Yeah,
about that, that just popped up
yeah,
in my feed. And yesterday there must be some more upgrades going on because yesterday I had a migraine and I kind of knew it was going to happen. Whenever there's some crazy things going on, I get these. You have an upgrade or whatever. I get migraines, and I had this
yeah,
migraine yesterday. But before, like a couple of hours before the migraine, I kind of feel myself getting sick. It's like I'm not really sick. Like as in a cold, like ascension
yeah,
sickness. And I was like, I can feel this, and then I had the migraine and had a bit of a nap, and then I felt really good afterwards.
yeah. Yeah, that's it. We're going through everything collectively, and and it's all happening personally and internally as well too, isn't it? Like I said, like the Earth's upgrading, the Earth's awakening, and we're completely connected with the Earth. Where it's happening symbiotically at the same time. And this is what I think about going back to that convoy of these tribal nations going to Canberra. That's how I'm looking at it too, because I'm seeing a lot of this. It's
So
like
what's the deal when
healing.
they're all driving up there, and
Yeah, they're
what's
like certain. What's
to
the purpose?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's to serve the government. I think they're going to Parliament House. I don't know much more about it. I have to find out for a friend. But like, yeah, it's just a big convoy. But it's like a number of the different tribes sort of like uniting together, right?
Right.
To get rid of the illegal occupier, this fake corporate government. Which like so what I'm saying too, it's almost like cleansing of the ley lines and the song lines that they would say as well too. It's almost like it's just sort of the way I'm looking at it. And that's sort of like we've seen. I don't know how much what's happening in the NT is and isn't happening, but it's put into the public consciousness what I've seen the most, particularly in the alternative media, of what they have been doing and what they wanted to do to the tribal people and for what reason. And it was all about they're holding like this code of the planet that they do within their song and their dance. There's something really strong about that connection to the creator that they hold through their rituals and ceremony. And like, how good it, and again, like the black and white people uniting now and starting to really understand that when they say going back to the black man's law, it's not about them taking over the country. It's about getting rid of this corporate structure and then
going back to national.
And forming a proper nation where we're all the same.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we've got a big opportunity here in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to take a lot of work, but it's going to be so worth it. And I've been seeing those videos where they go and serve these papers at different places. Do you know much about the implications of that? Because I mean, I've seen other videos where it was outside. They were at some Parliament House, whatever, and they served them the papers outside, and like once they get the papers, what do they have to do with them? They have to go and they can't just throw them away. Like they have to go and
I saw one where they were like stamped and stuff, and I think they have to be addressed. I think a lot of them they're served. It's like you don't even have a right to response. It's like you got 14 days to fuck off, but obviously they don't. So there was one served to the Privy Council in the UK when this all sort of freaking kicked off, when this all started. And that's like Cullerton was talking about yesterday. You can't do that through the Australian government. That can only be done through the Commonwealth. And this is what he was even saying. If you go to a magistrate's court, if you're paying to go to a magistrate's court, it's because you're paying to use their service. If it's the Commonwealth court, it's free because it's the people's court. But even that system's fucked anyway because they're trying to dismiss the Commonwealth, of which has already left anyway. So I don't know. I think it's just bringing more public consciousness to it. You can serve anyone papers, but at the end of the day, they're a criminal syndicate. They don't care. And
exactly,
unless enough of the population understands it, that it has no power.
Correct, and that was what I was getting at. It's like the power is in the people, but the power also in this sense is with the corporation. They have the physical power to not leave the premises or had to have police working for them and to continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's the same with because Daniel Andrews got served papers too by this Brian Shaw guy. And it's all within the common law structure and stuff. This is what I keep telling people. There is no fucking common law. Where's the common law courts? It's unless it's all in the mind. If the public isn't conscious of what the real law is, then it means nothing. It's like you're trying to take them down within their own criminal syndicate.
Right.
It's like working with Al Capone and coming in with like common law and telling Al Capone, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Al Capone, you can't." Like they don't care. They're criminals.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's I mean, no law, even common law that's written on paper, really means anything. I know they'll say it's a derivative of natural law and it comes from God, but at the end of the day, it's that we have the power to just, and as an individual, it's just to do non-compliance. That is the only way out, really. Coming together, everyone coming together as communities and not cooperating. That's what brings it down.
Yeah. We can't,
But all the other stuff's still useful as well too. It still has its place.
But can't somebody just go and do a citizen's arrest on these people?
I know. Fuck's sake.
Like, it's not. That's absolutely possible, isn't it? So.
Did you see? There was this waiter years ago that went up to Tony Blair in a restaurant and he tried to grab him and he's like, "This is a citizen's arrest."
Really?
For Christ's sake. Yeah, it didn't work. Actually, he was on Epstein's plane as well, Tony Blair.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, yeah, it was good chat with you again.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. We'll maybe catch up after Christmas, or we'll see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. At this rate, then maybe the whole government will step down in the next few weeks.
Yeah, did you see Morrison put in that they're only going to have like 10 sitting days before like June next year in Parliament?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Trying not to. Well, he wanted to.
How are you going to do that when there's supposed to be an election in May?
Yeah, he wanted to put them on, not retire them, kind of give them a break for 7 months, like cancel Parliament for 7 months.
Yeah, it appears that the global government structure is coming down one way or another. It's been dismantled.
Do you think that maybe if push comes to shove, then the White Hats would just send in some troops to just arrest these, to arrest these people if they don't want to leave? You know what I mean?
Publicly.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Because
you would have to have public support of that, and I mean serious public support in the 90% or more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. I guess we will.
All right.
All right. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.
See you, mate. Talk to you later.